guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about what credit cards to use in all situations. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at maxing out the value of having these credit cards. So we're looking at maybe just narrowing it down from having a big stack of cards to having just 5 cards.
Yeah, we want to get this down to 5, and you can always get more value if you have one card for every single purchase you make, but we don't want to carry around 12, 15, or 20 credit cards, so we're going to give you the best cards for travel, for your life, and which ones you need to get to make this all work out. So before we do that, we need to know and help you understand what the point values are and what each point is worth. So points are not all the same. So for instance, Hilton gives you points, Hyatt gives you points. They're very different in value because when you go look at a redemption, when you go to redeem your points, Hilton is going to ask you for 30,000, 40,000, even 50,000 points for one night at a hotel, whereas Hyatt you can get a hotel for 5,000 points, 10,000 points in that range. So not all points are the same is the first thing that you need to know. So starting out with Chase, they're going to come in at 2 cents per point. That is Chase Ultimate Rewards. Those are points earned through having a Chase credit card like a Chase Sapphire Reserve or a Chase Inc.
Your Amex points are also going to come in at 2 cents per point as well.
And Hyatt also 2 cents per point. Chase points do transfer to Hyatt, so they're kind of similar in value because we end up mostly transferring our Chase points to Hyatt.
Also, Marriott is a little less than that at 0.9 cents per point.
And then IHG is 0.8 cents per point. Now I will say that IHG often does sell their points at 0.5 cents per point, and when they do that, we scoop up as many as we can. We have a video on the channel about why we just bought 500,000 IHG points, and when they go on sale, you do want to buy those. And then Hilton comes in at 0.4 cents per point, which is pretty easily the lowest.
Yeah, and if you've watched our videos here on the channel, we have talked about Hilton and those differences before, but we're going to dig into it a little bit more because I feel like breaking down the numbers like this really does help to put this all into perspective, and you'll easily see why at the end of the video why our 5 card ultimate stack is perfect for everything.
So point values do get a little bit out of whack when you talk about places like going to the Maldives or doing a safari in Africa. And you will see a lot of people that are doing these kind of aspirational redemptions talk about the value they got, and that's just a different thing. So if you're not doing that regularly, which we're not, that is going to account for why the points are different than what you may see. Otherwise, we're giving you real world experience as to what we're seeing, what they're worth when we're out here just living our life on points, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of different values, and you'll note that the values that we have given these points are different than some of the other ones that you'll see out there as well. And that is why, is because we're using our scale of everyday use and in our full-time travels in the real world kind of values. So it's going to be a little bit different, and that's how come we value it that way.
So now that we know how much each point is worth, we're going to break down which cards you should use to get the most points for every expenditure that you're making. And the first category is you're going to be staying at a lot of hotels. And when you stay at what we're calling a branded hotel, that's a Hyatt, IHG, Marriott, or Hilton. Those are the ones that we most often have cards for. You always want to use the branded card that you have for that hotel. You will get a massive amount of points in doing so. So the first one is Hyatt. If you use the World of Hyatt credit card, you will get 9 times the points per dollar spent, and those points are worth 2 cents each. So you're getting 18 cents back per dollar spent. So an 18% return on your investment in the hotel. And that just happened to us. We stayed for 24 nights in Kanazawa, Japan. We ended up getting 39,000 Hyatt points back for that, which is good for 11 free nights. So we stayed 24 nights. We got 11 nights for free because we used the World of Hyatt credit card. It was a phenomenal deal.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a very good deal, and definitely got our money's worth and then some out of that.
The next card hotel is IHG. When you stay at an IHG, you want to use the IHG card. You'll get 26 times points per dollar spent.
Yeah, so that's 20.8 cents per dollar at IHG.
So we do have links to all the cards we're going to mention in the description. I want to mention that. And each card does come with a welcome offer that changes over time. So you have to click through and see what the current welcome offer is. You'll get a certain amount of points when you sign up for the card and complete a welcome offer. The next one's going to be Marriott. 21 times points per dollar spent, and multiply that by 0.9. It comes out to 18.9 cents, and that is if you're using the Bonvoy Brilliant. Now I will say the Bonvoy Brilliant is a very expensive card. It's a very high annual fee card. The Hyatt and the IHG, low annual fee, under $100. The Bonvoy Brilliant is over $600, so we don't totally recommend that one because of that fact.
Exactly. And that's moving on to the next one, which is Hilton. It's 34 times, but don't get too excited because remember, they were only 0.4 cents per point. So that's 13.6 cents per dollar spent on your Hilton Aspire card.
And also the Hilton Aspire is another very expensive card, coming in at over $500 of an annual fee. So again, we don't totally recommend that card, even though we do have it. We are thinking of getting rid of it. So booking with a branded card at a hotel will almost always get you close to 20% back. And so if you're staying at a hotel at one of these chains and you have one of the cards, that is the card you always want to use. Moving on to airlines, which is up next. We're not going to talk about portals though, right?
That's right. We're talking about booking directly with the airlines. We always discourage people from booking with the portals like Chase or Amex. I know you get, like special rates and things like that, but at the end of the day, the service is not going to be the same, and you could have problems, and it's going to be a lot harder to deal with if you're dealing with the middleman, basically, than dealing directly with the airline itself. So always book directly with the airline here.
Yeah, it's all good until you need to rebook a flight real quick and you have a problem, which has happened to us several times. So we recommend for flights booked with the airline, the Amex Platinum is going to give you the most bang for your bucks. 5x points, and those are worth 2 cents each, so 10 cents per dollar on your flights. That's a pretty big savings.
That's a huge savings because we all know flight is going to be the largest expense of your travels to different places.
Next up, you could also book that with the Chase Ink or Chase Sapphire Reserve, but you're only getting 3x points, so we definitely recommend the Amex Platinum for that. Airbnb, this is also another one that's going to come up big if you're living this type of lifestyle. You will want to use the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Chase Business Ink Preferred because they're getting you 3x the points on Airbnb.
Which is fantastic because, like you said, it's going to come into play. You're not only going to be staying at hotels, and the Airbnb codes as travel with Chase, so it's perfect because you get your 3 times travel. You're going to be spending money on there anyways.
3 times travel, and those points are worth 2 cents a piece, so really you're getting about 6% back every time you stay at Airbnb. And the same is going to be true of all other travel. Those are the 2 best travel cards, so you're going to want to use one of those for all other travel. Anything that codes as travel, use one of those. Now moving on to dining, and this is a card that a lot of people don't really consider or know about, but it is a powerhouse for dining, one that we totally recommend, and that is the Amex Gold. It's great because it gives you 4 times the points at restaurants.
I think this is a big one because you are going to be eating out a lot. Even with an Airbnb, while you're cooking, you're going to make friends, you're going to go want to meet up with people, or you just want to go out and have dinner or have lunch or have breakfast. You're not going to eat out for every meal, but you are going to eat out often, more often probably than in your regular life. Once you're traveling full time, we eat out way more than we did in our regular life because it's just the two of us instead of four of us, our 2 kids with us. So the 2 of us, we eat out a lot more than we used to, and in this lifestyle it fits in perfect to get that 4 times back on dining.
Yeah, it does. And I will say that we get asked a lot by people, well, I'm going to do this in about 2 years. I'm going to go do a lot of traveling in 2 years. But right now, I'm just living in the United States. Should I start accumulating points? And the answer is yes, you should start accumulating points. But you don't need the big high dollar travel credit cards to do that if you're not going to be traveling. So you don't need the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you don't need the Amex Platinum, because you're not going to take advantage of the lounge access until you start traveling overseas. But when you're trying to accumulate points in the US, this is a 2-card stack that's amazing, and it's the Amex Gold and the IHG, because you're going to see all of the next 4 categories, which are basically things you're doing while you're in the US, are going to be covered by these 2 cards. So dining, Amex Gold, amazing. I mean, we were talking about it when we lived in the States. We probably spent $1,000 a month on groceries and maybe $500 a month eating out. I don't know, let us know what you spend on those 2 categories, but if you spend $1,500, that's $18,000 a year times 4 the points. That's 72,000 points that you're going to get, plus the generous welcome offer of at least, I think it's about 60,000 points on the Amex Gold. 132,000 Amex points you could get by just getting the Amex Gold card. Now, we recently spent about 140,000 Amex points and got 4 business class flights for both of us. So 8 business class flights around Asia for that number of points. That's what you could get just by getting that Amex Gold.
Yeah, and honestly, it's amazing because it comes in the middle as far as the annual fee. It's not way down low, like under $100, like the other cards we were talking about, but it's also not $500 or $600. It comes in just a little over $200. It fits in perfectly, and you will make that money back easily.
So gas is going to be IHG. Kind of an odd one, but you're going to use IHG for gas because IHG Premier Card gives 5 times the points on gas, and that is just the best that we're going to see. Moving on to groceries, again, Amex Gold is a powerhouse here. 4 times the points on groceries, as well as the dining, 4 times the points on groceries.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because, again, if you are trying to build up points, these 2 are going to be your clutch cards. As a matter of fact, I use my IHG Premier really often, and it was hacked while we were in Vietnam a few months ago, and they sent me a new card to my hotel in Vietnam from the US. It was absolutely wild. I couldn't believe it. I thought, I'll believe it when I see it that they're sending me this card, and I got it because usually we just wait until we get back to the US to get our new cards, but this one, I use it so much, I was like, I can't live without it. I have to have my IHG Premier card. And they did a fantastic job getting it to me in Vietnam.
Because the IHG card, we have a category called everything else. So if it's not in the categories we've already said, we just say everything else we're putting on the IHG card, because the IHG card gives you 3x points on everything else. And that's phenomenal. So it's kind of like the catch-all. So if you just with that 2-card stack, the Amex Gold and the IHG, you can handle all of your IHG stays, all of your dining, all of your gas, all of your groceries, and everything else. So basically everything except for travel is going to be put on those 2 cards. Now, that's a great for when you're just getting ready to go travel the world. The perfect stack, though, once you do go travel the world, you do want to add in that Amex Platinum, because that is what's going to get you your lounge access. It's going to get you 5x points on flights. It is going to get you We talked about how the Marriott and the Hilton have really high annual fees on their cards, so we don't recommend getting those. But it's a beautiful thing because you can get the Hyatt card and the IHG card for a low annual fee, and the Amex Platinum will give you status on, just as it may happen, on Hilton and Marriott, the two that you don't want to be getting. So if you have that Amex Platinum, you're going to get status at every hotel chain, and it also gives you status for most of the rental cars too.
Yeah, that's like perfect. You're gonna get a great experience at the airport because let me tell you, the lounge access really changes your travel day experience. I promise you, you want to be able to get into those lounges. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, there's always a long line. It's really hard to get into. Not when you're traveling abroad. We have zero problem getting into the lounges, and they are beautiful and they offer so much. When you're there, that you definitely want to have that airport, airline lounge access at the airport.
We also recommend the Chase Business Inc. Preferred, which is going to get you the 3 times points at Airbnb and all other travel. You could use the Chase Sapphire Reserve for that as well, but this one has a little bit lower of an annual fee. And then the World of Hyatt card is a must-have if you're going to be staying at any Hyatts. As we mentioned, we got tons of points back for that low annual fee. So we're going to throw the chart up here of everything we've got, and this is going to basically walk you through what you need to use. Branded hotel, you use that hotel card. Flights, you want to use Amex Platinum. Any other travel, either the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Chase Inc. Dining, Amex Gold. Gas, IHG. Groceries, Amex Gold. And everything else we put on IHG.
That's right. That's going to be a beautiful 5-card stack. And like I said, we draw on those quite often.
Yeah.
With all of the travel we're booking and with just going out to eat and different things like that, it's perfect.
Now, when we started doing this and traveling the world, we thought we could get away with 2 cards. And we quickly found out that that was a huge mistake. And luckily we were coming home pretty quickly after our first trip. We were only gone for about 6 months before we came home. Because we quickly found out that when you're traveling, things will happen to your credit cards. They will either expire, or you will get an alert that says, hey, we updated these cards and now we're putting a new chip in them. We're going to send you a new one out. You'll have it in a week. Well, I'm in Japan. I'm not going to have that card in a week. Or they'll say, there's a fraud alert on this card. Did you make this purchase? If you didn't, just let us know and we'll send you a new one. And I'm like, well, that's great. But again, now I have no credit cards. So you can get in a situation where if you are traveling the world with 2 credit cards, you could have 0 credit cards in just a matter of moments. And that has happened to us. I think we've probably had 5 or 6 of them that we just got wiped out. And so not all at the same time, but just over the years. And we have said 2 is not enough. It's just certainly not enough. 5 is about what we feel comfortable with, because if you get in a country where you can't use any of your credit cards, you could get into a pretty bad situation. Not to mention you could lose one, or one could get taken from you. So we always say remember, you're not going to be in the U.S. if you're doing world travel. It's not that easy to get a card sent to you, although we did manage it one time.
We did the one time, but you don't want to have to, it just happened to work out because we were going to be at that hotel for a while. But normally, we move around month to month, and we never know when the next place is, how long it's going to take for something like that to get there. It took, I think, 3 or 4 days for it to get there, whereas, in the U.S., obviously, you'd get it the next day. So, that was still pretty good, but thankfully, we were staying at this hotel long enough for them to send it there.
Yeah. Then there's one more item I want to cover about these cards is people often ask, which cards should we put like a big spend on if we have a big expense coming up? Now, if you're working on a welcome offer to get the bonus points, obviously you do that. But if you're not working on one, there are 2 cards that we have that we try to put this on every year. The first is the World of Hyatt card. If you spend $15,000 on that card in a calendar year, you will get 6 elite nights for your status, and at $15,000 you do get a free category 4 certificate, so that's kind of nice. And then on the IHG card, if you spend $20,000 in a year, you will get 10,000 bonus points and a $100 credit. Those aren't huge things, but we do tend to hit one or both of those depending on how the year goes and how often we're staying at a Hyatt or an IHG.
Yeah, and just how much we'll be spending in some of those categories as well. But they do come in handy, really, when you're getting those free nights and getting that statement credit, and then getting the points too, and the elite nights. You can't beat that.
Yeah. So I know this is a very confusing topic, and so we put this chart together to help us. We hope it helps you. It's easier if you kind of whittle it down to, we're only working with these 5 cards for the most of the time, and that just makes it easy. Those are the ones we recommend. Start out with the 2 if you're not traveling yet, and then add the other ones once you're going to be needing lounge access and privileges and perks and elite status.
All right, so you might have some questions. Why don't you leave those down in the comment section, and we'll get around to those so we can see what your questions are, and others can see your questions as well, and we can answer those in the comment section. Guys, if this was helpful to you, go ahead and give us that thumbs up on this video. Share it with if you would like as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.